Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about Sherlock Holmes in BBC Sherlock series. Today we're going to talk about Sherlock the pirate and the reasons why Sherlock wanted to be a pirate when he was a kid, as well as why, despite his dream of being a pirate, Sherlock eventually became a detective, which is an interesting career shift. So firstly, we have to look into how Victor influenced that. It's alluded several times that Sherlock's childhood dream was to be a pirate, and we indeed see that during his childhood, Sherlock was always playing pirates with his friend Victor. Mycroft directly even asks John Watson at one point why he thinks Sherlock chose to be a detective when Sherlock had the mind of a philosopher or a scientist, and Mycroft adds that Sherlock would have preferred to be a pirate if he had his way.
My brother has the brain of a scientist or a philosopher, yet he elects to be a detective. But initially, he wanted to be a pirate.
So why a pirate? Why does Sherlock's infatuation and fascination with pirates say about his character? Mycroft gives us a big hint when he tells us that everything that Sherlock is, the man he became, is all shaped and influenced by Eros, Sherlock's older sister.
Then why don't I remember her?
You do remember her, in a way. Every choice you've ever made, every path you've ever taken. The man you are today is your memory of Eros.
This line stands out to me because it seems almost like an exaggeration. After all, how can Sherlock's entire life have been completely shaped by someone he can't even remember? And that leads us from Sherlock's transition from pirate to detective as his dream job. The most traumatizing event in Sherlock's childhood was the death of Victor, his best friend. Victor is characterized as an infallible, loyal friend who's always there for Sherlock, just like John Watson. We don't get a whole lot of moments with Victor, but from what I can garner, Victor appears to be extremely loyal to Sherlock, a loyalty that's made even more evident by Sherlock replacing Victor with a dog in his memory, since dogs are unconditionally loyal. And we learn from Mycroft Sherlock's struggle to solve Eros's riddle to help him find Redbeard. Essentially, finding Victor was Sherlock's first case, but a case Sherlock failed to solve. Sherlock failed Victor when he failed to solve the song riddle that Eros gave Sherlock, and so as a result, Victor drowned due to Sherlock's failure. And Sherlock dealt with the trauma of his best friend's murder by forgetting about Victor and replacing the memory of his childhood friend with a childhood pet instead, in order to make the incident emotionally manageable and easier for him to handle. Defeated and beaten by Eros and paying the high cost of his best friend's life, it's not really surprising that Sherlock switched to being a detective, becoming someone who solved, almost, every case and crime he was confronted with. Sherlock detests being wrong, and perhaps it was his helplessness to save Victor that made him turn to a life of solving crime, so he could succeed where he failed with Victor. One might even presume that the reason Sherlock hates to be wrong itself is because what being wrong with Eros's riddle had cost him. His best friend's life. And that brings us to the second part, so why the switch from pirate to detective? The career of a pirate is about taking. Pirating is stealing from others for one's personal profit. On the other hand, a detective's career is about restoring things to others, either via saving lives, or finding something lost and returning it to its owner, or bringing justice in instances where opportunities for recovery come too late. Sherlock hardly seems altruistic in his profession, seeing as how he's cold and blunt and rude a lot of times, and he generally seems more interested in the thrills of a challenging puzzle than in actually doing the right thing. Even so, one of Sherlock's lines in the Six Thatchers episode stood out to me. When Mycroft mentions there was a stolen pearl that needed recovering, Sherlock dismisses the case with utter disinterest, commenting, "Then get a new one."
And has latterly shown some interest in tracking down the Black Pearl of the Borgias, which is still missing, by the way, in case you feel like applying yourself to something practical.
It's a pearl. Get another one.
And from this scene, it's clear how disinterested Sherlock is in retrieving an inanimate object. Notably, the vast majority of Sherlock's cases throughout the series involved stopping a killer or protecting people in some ways. Even in cases such as his mission to retrieve the photograph from Irene Adler, there is still a sense of preventing potential harm to others, as Irene's ownership of the photo gave Irene the potential to destroy or ruin someone's reputation, thus putting high-ranking individuals in a compromising position and leaving them susceptible to blackmail, which in turn could lead to harming or wronging even more people. Sherlock's disinterest in the pearl seems especially telling, since pirates are those who seek treasure. The pearl is the perfect embodiment of a treasure to be sought, yet Sherlock treats the case of the pearl with total disinterest, and he knows it's merely an object that can easily be replaced. Symbolically, this perhaps indicates Sherlock's disinterest with his childhood pirate infatuation. As an adult, Sherlock prefers to tackle cases that involve helping people, whether it be catching a murderer or solving a puzzle to prevent someone's impending death, in which case, perhaps his career as a detective is a subconscious attempt to do for others what he couldn't do for Victor: save lives in danger, prevent further harm, or bring justice, and thus closure, to cases involving death or harm to other human beings. Perhaps Sherlock's love for his detective work isn't just about the thrills and challenge of solving a case, but a subconscious form of guilt over Victor's tragic death. Maybe the reason he's only interested in cases involving murders is because it's about helping people, and recovering inanimate, lifeless objects just isn't as interesting or fulfilling to him. Additionally, detectives are problem solvers and they seek answers to difficult mysteries. So is it so surprising that after Victor's death, Sherlock would stop playing pirate and start taking life seriously, and thus gravitate towards a career that would help him hone problem-solving skills, so that he would never be helpless to save a friend again, and he wouldn't again find himself emotionally at the mercy of a ruthless opponent like Eros. Pirates are treasure hunters who solve the mystery of where treasure is hidden, and detectives are similarly puzzle solvers who solve the mystery of a case. In this sense, there's kind of a correlation between pirates and detectives, so perhaps the career change wasn't quite as big a stretch as one might initially think. But I think there's also a connection between Eros and pirates and the ocean. In his mind, Sherlock has associated and linked Eros with the element of water. It's a connection to his affinity with piracy on a symbolic level, since pirates forge their careers on the tempestuous ocean waters. Though the sea is dangerous, pirates have an affinity for the thrills and danger of the seafaring life. There is, after all, a noticeable distinction between thieves and pirates, and the difference comes from the sea. Pirates are those who sail on the sea and steal from others. Thieves are those who remain safely on land. Though the sea is dangerous and lethal, pirates long for the adventurous life the ocean offers, and so forgo a safer life on land. Pirates share a connection with the sea, much like how Sherlock wants to connect with Eros, even in spite of knowing how dangerous and hurtful she can be. Sherlock has suffered a lot at Eros' hands, yet he still attempts to connect with his sister after Victor's murder, and after the horrors his sister subjected him to in The Final Problem. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you want to support the channel, feel free to like or subscribe.